My dear friends, I welcome you to a new podcast with me, Girish. In today's session, we're going to discuss how we can actually boost our self-esteem. All right. And before we start to discuss about the strategies, we're first going to explain the process of self-esteem, motivation, and outcome. All right. It's actually quite simple. If someone has a very low self-esteem, okay, a low self-esteem leads to low energy level, low motivation, and the result is really poor outcomes which don't um, actually bring results. Okay. On the other hand, now, if someone has a really high self-esteem, it leads to high energy, it leads to high motivation, and the outcomes are very good ones, which end up being very productive. Okay, so that's the link between self-esteem, motivation, and outcome. Now, there are lots of factors why people have low self-esteem. We can go back to people's own insecurities, the beliefs we have, the fear of failure, the fear of being rejected. So all these things kind of create that low self-esteem. Now, what can we actually do to boost our self-esteem? Because if the self-esteem is low, it's not going to generate good results. And it's not exactly about the results, it's about the freedom. Because when someone has a low self-esteem, that person does not express himself or herself totally 100%. And if you're not expressing yourself 100%, there's always something lacking. So you're actually never satisfied because you're not fully expressing yourself as an individual, as a person. And when you're not expressing yourself fully, you're not living to your full potential, and that leads to unhappiness. All right. So now we're going to actually start discussing the strategies. Number one, what you can do to boost your self-confidence is learning a new skill. Every time you learn something new and you actually manage to master that new thing you're trying to learn, it could be a new skill, it could be a new hobby, it could be a new course you're really passionate about and you're learning it. Every time you learn something new, you actually feel good about yourself, and that boosts your self-confidence. All right. So that's number one. Number two, how can we boost our self-confidence? It's by actually writing down all our accomplishments. Most of the time, for some of us and for some people, sometimes it happens that we hit bottom ground, something bad happens, and we start to dwell in that negativity. Okay, we forget all the good things we've accomplished in the past. So one thing that will actually boost your self-confidence level is sitting down and actually writing everything you've accomplished and everything you've accomplished and you're really proud of, things you've done well. And it's a variety of things you can write down. You could be writing down about having good friends, having people who care about you. It could be about the courses you've done. It could be about your job. It could be about being independent. It could be about having many friends, having good family members you can rely on. It could be about the upbringing of your children. If you're a student, it could be about things you've accomplished at school. There's so many things you've done and you don't realize or you don't think about the good things you've done because the mind is always, kind of attracted by the negative things, by the failure. And it's all because of the beliefs or because of the way your brain has been wired, which can change. That's why we're actually talking about it. Okay. So you need to list down your accomplishments. Number three, you can actually do something creative. Okay, when you do something creative, something that comes from the heart or an idea you've got and you just write it on paper, it stimulates the brain and you feel actually really good because everything you're doing, you're executing or you're following people's instructions or you're doing what your parents are telling you. All these things you're executing, you're just doing them. So there's a low level of energy linked to that because you're just executing. But when you actually come up with something your own, like an idea or a, a, a rhythm you've created on the guitar, or you write a piece of work which is completely your own, or you challenge yourself to do something new, when you're actually doing something and it comes 100% from you, it's like you creating it from scratch. It brings in a level of energy, and that makes you really happy, and that makes you really confident and boosts your self-esteem because it's like your own work. That's why I spend all my free time writing things or recording for you guys, or drafting articles, because when you're actually producing something from the heart, from the mind, it's totally yours. There's another level of energy linked to that. All right. So that would be the third point, being creative. The fourth one is being clear on your values. You need to really know what you're made of. What are the things that make you tick? What are your values? Are you someone who values family life? Are you someone who values friendship? Are you someone who values self-esteem? Are you someone who values love? What are your values? What are the things that you think are important? You need to be really clear about that, because if you're not, then you can be just misguided by anyone. You will just be like a sort of puppet between the hands of other people, because you don't really know where you stand. So you need to be really clear about the things you believe in, and you need to stand your ground. All right. The fifth point would be challenging your own limiting beliefs. Every time your inner voice starts to talk about negative things about yourself, you actually stop the inner critic. And we actually had, I wrote an article on inner critic, and I think there's a podcast on inner critic too. You can listen to it again. But the inner voice is actually not ours. So when it starts to talk to you, you just realize that the inner voice is not yours, and you can actually feel quite detached from it and don't listen to it. All right. The next point would be standing on the edge of your comfort zone. If you really want to feel good, you need to do something that scares you. As simple as that. And the moment you do something that scares you and you're actually able to do it, it just brings another boost of confidence to yourself. I think in one of the podcasts I talked to you about being really afraid of heights. So what I did is I climbed off a waterfall just to try to, go against that fear, and I felt really good after that. So anything that scares you, you need to actually go fully into it. So if public speaking scares you, you actually go and do it. Next point would be to help someone. There's a high energy level, let me say. There's a high energy level linked to the act of helping people, giving advice, and making people feel better. I've been doing that quite a lot through my talks, through my articles, physically helping people as well. There's an enormous level of energy that comes to that. And when I'm talking about helping people, it's actually really selflessly giving love, giving your attention, and trying to make people live to their full potential. So if you have the chance of helping someone, helping a younger sibling, helping a friend, giving advice, and you actually make that person feel better, it's something amazing, and you should really be trying it. Next point would be healing your past. There are lots of garbage and lots of inner feelings, emotions, stuck, which we've kept inside, which comes up from time to time in the form of our insecurities. We need to actually heal the past. So if you have a therapist, you can go to talk, take the garbage out to make you feel light. You do that. You could do journaling. If you've got a close friend who actually is an active listener, gives you good advice, or just listens to you, use the friend. Okay. Anything that works for you, you need to find it, and you actually need to do it. All right. Next point would be actually stopping to worry about others. People's opinions don't matter. It's your life. You live it your way. Try to keep yourself motivated by being among positive people, listening to positive podcasts, listening to good advice of people, listening to good music. Another point would be to actually let the negative people go. You don't need them. You don't need people who actually try to bring you down. You need people who enlighten you and make you feel better. Next point, try to live a life which is aligned with your traits, with your character traits. You can't be living a life which is the opposite of how you are as a person. If you're someone who's very extrovert, you should be in a job or living a life where you're actually expressing yourself the whole time. If you're an introvert, you should be living a life where you actually can be in your small corner most of the time, and there are times when you can actually go and talk to people. So it should match, otherwise things won't quite work out for you. You need to maintain firm boundaries with certain people. If you think that there are certain people who bring you down, criticize you too much, or never bring anything positive in your life, like we said, we can let the negative people go. But if you can't, it's like a close family member, your parents, people at your workplace, you need to have firm lines, which you don't cross, you don't go to their side, and they don't come to their side. Okay? And my friend, you need to actually start caring about yourself. Eat better, exercise, be positive, meditate, go to the gym. Whatever works for you, keeps you healthy, you actually do that. Be open to learning. Keep learning. You're never a master. You're always a learner. Have that mindset. Keep learning, learn, execute, and keep going. The more you learn, the more you develop skills, learn knowledge, talk to people, be open to points of view. Okay. And just keep going. It keeps you alive the more you learn. Face your fears. We talk about that. We talk about mentoring others. You could be teaching others like I do. If you're really passionate about something, you create a blog, you write about it. You could create a podcast. You could be talking to people who share the same interests. Do something, move your body, teach others, right? So all these things are like practical advice I'm giving you, which I do in my own life, and which I think will help you. And I really hope that you found these things interesting. So till next time, bye-bye, and lots of love, Girish.